Every 10 years on April 1st, the United States takes a census, or count, of the people living in the U.S. A form is sent to every address to find out demographic information about the people who live there, like race, gender, and number of people living in the home. Paula Dennison is the Assistant City Manager for the City of Stillwater and says this information helps communities know exactly how many people are being served and where.
A tornado comes through and wipes out a path through Stillwater, Oklahoma. Emergency management with the census numbers can immediately pinpoint and have a good, pretty solid idea of how many people that affected. The Red Cross can have an idea of how many people that affected just because those census forms were filled out.
So people need to be counted properly and accurately.
That's how money from the federal government is appropriated. If Oklahoma, in particular, doesn't have the proper count, the money we could get is going to Texas, to California, to Arkansas, Colorado, Hawaii, Alaska. We need to make sure that Oklahomans are counted once and counted in the right place.
Chris Redding is chairman of the Board of Commissioners in Payne County and says the census count brings your tax money back to your area.
When the federal government, and basically the government in general, distributes money, it's usually on the basis of population. And the more population you have, the more money you get. Also power through representatives and through electoral college votes. As the state has more population, it has more representatives up in Washington, D.C. It also has more electoral college votes, which is important for deciding the president.
Cushing City Manager Terry Brannon says it's about more than just bringing tax money back.
I think the very first thing that I would want to really emphasize to our residents and all the members of Payne County is that it's important to be counted simply when you begin to consider federal funding dollars and the allocation of those dollars. And you think about those being your tax dollars, but they're also a complete reinvestment of those dollars into our respective communities. And so being counted in that census actually allows us to be accurately reflected when it comes to the reinvestment of those federal tax dollars.
Which is crucial for rural areas.
Absolutely. You have the school system. Also think about rural health care. That's another big thing. Rural health care. You know, we all heard the discussion about the impact of certain, federal mandates and just mandates in general as it relates to health care. So making sure that we have a great census number and a great count goes towards receiving the appropriate funding to help fund some of those services. Since our umbrella of health care here is really kind of multifaceted, if you will, since we have multiple providers, I think there'd be a lot of people that would be directly and positively impacted.
Barry Fuxa is the District Public Relations and Communications Coordinator for Stillwater Public Schools and says census numbers help with school programs.
Title I money is distributed based on the census, as well as Individuals with Disability Education Act. There's some funds tied to that, and that helps determine how much money comes our way. Programs that assist the homeless, that's a growing issue across the country, and here in Stillwater as well. It's sometimes one of those hidden things, but we've got over 400 students that meet the federal definition of homelessness, which means they're either, it doesn't mean that they're living under a bridge, but it means that they're living in housing that's not up to standard. It means that they're maybe doubled up, sharing a house with another family, living with relatives, that sort of thing. It doesn't mean that they don't have a roof over their home each night, but that's just a staggering number. That's one that really surprised me. So additional funds to help us out with those kind of programs, to help parents and families get back on their feet. And those students, some of our students are on their own. So anything that we can do to increase the funding to help out those kind of programs and make our community better.
And even college students are affected. John Mark Day is Director of Leadership and Campus Life at Oklahoma State University and says that with over 25,000 students at OSU, it's important that everyone is counted.
What it means is that our students have a voice. Our students get represented in government here at the local level, at the state level. It means that we can provide the right services that we need. It means that we can be looking at things like transportation and public services and entertainment for all of our folks who are here on campus to get them recognized and get them what they need and what they want.
Which means counting university students where they live during the school year here in Stillwater.
Absolutely, that's huge for us. We have such a significant population of college students that don't always get counted and don't always get recognized. And so the chance we have now to make sure that we can say, yeah, this is the population that we have, this is who we need to be providing services for, is a really significant opportunity.
Now, Day's message to OSU students is,
you live here now, so you are a resident of Stillwater, you are a part of this community, and so we want to count you. We want to make sure that you count in Stillwater, that your voice is heard, and that you are recognized as being a part of this community.
and there's an added benefit to students.
There are more financing opportunities available. As Stillwater gets recognized as a larger community, we have more opportunities to provide financial resources for students. There's more opportunities for jobs in the community, really good ways to have that financial impact really felt.
Now, Dennison says having a complete count of people opens up a whole new world.
Right now, the city of Stillwater is considered a small city when we apply for federal community development block grant funds. So that puts us in a pot with all the other cities in Oklahoma between 15,000 and 50,000 population, because the last decennial census had us just over 45,000. So we fit within that 15 to 50. Because of that, the federal government only gives a pot of money to Oklahoma for distribution to all of the cities that fit within that population range. Once Stillwater is proved to be over, in this case 50,000, we don't go through the state for a piece of a small pot. We deal directly with the federal government competitively for their entire bucket of funds for community development block grant.
And if our census count goes over the 50,000 mark, Stillwater becomes a metropolitan, which means
Metropolitan Statistical Area also designates us as a metropolitan planning organization, which means we're not just looking at roads in Stillwater. We, as Stillwater, as the most populated, densely populated in the area around here, we become the lead on all of the coordination with the other cities and the county, maybe even reaching outside of Payne County to some other counties and possibly cities in those other counties, to come together and have a stronger unified voice when we say to the state or to the federal government, this is our long-range transportation plan. Everybody that's participating has come up with this. You've got Stillwater saying we have a plan, give us the money, or you've got a larger group, more weight, more influence, a broader reach of people.
and it's opportunities like that that Brannon says brings in new business.
It gives people within our community and those looking at doing business in our community a great perspective on our potential and what opportunity lies ahead potentially in Cushing if you decided to want to expand a business here or just do business here, period.
But to nonprofits like Our Daily Bread in Stillwater, the census is about more than just money. Becky Taylor is the executive director.
Making sure everyone is counted in the census is important. I know that it's advantageous to our community as a whole. Also, as I apply for different funding and for grants, just specifically for our program and to help with our operational funds, it helps to have an accurate count of the people that live in our community. But it's also important whenever our guests, who are often marginalized and ignored and without a voice because of where they fall on a socioeconomic status, it's important that they just know that they count just as a human being living in our community, that their face and that their name and that their presence in our community counts, and it makes our community better because they're here. An accurate census also helps us when we're looking at just rates of poverty in our community. So we determine a lot of what we do and how many people we serve based on families that live in Payne County and an accurate representation of people that are living in poverty as opposed to not. So that determines a lot of what we do and how much food we give out.
Did you say there's some flour back there?
Yes, quite a bit of flour and sugar.
Now, Dennison says there's 3 ways to fill out your census form.
So you can do it online, you can call and request a paper form, or you can just call and respond to the questions by phone. So those are the 3 unique ways that it's going to be done this time. The way that's going to happen is postcard will be sent to that address. That postcard will have a unique identifying number code on it for that address. In order to submit the census form, you've got to have that unique identifier. That's how they will make sure that you hadn't answered it 25 times. I have answered it, because they'll even know what addresses have not responded based on that unique identifier.
And if you don't respond,
you will have a person, a census worker, coming to your door and asking for that information that's on the form.
so keep the enumerators away by responding as soon as you receive your postcard. And remember,
the census actually is a confidential communication between the census representative and the individuals who are actually being spoken with or counted, if you will. And so I think people need to understand that their information, 1, is protected, 2, it violates federal law for a census taker to disclose that information. And so our hope is that people will be highly cooperative, so we too as a community are counted, and that we're counted countywide.
so don't be afraid to fill out the census, because for every Oklahoman not counted, it's estimated the state loses almost $1,200 in federal funding.
10 to 12,000 people times $1,200. That's a lot of money that did not come to Stillwater, Oklahoma, for the school district, for the city to use in streets, for the chamber to use in industry recruitment, or retail and restaurant recruitment, for the hospital to use in their health care, for Head Start to use with children. The impact is just, it has a domino effect.
So make sure you and your family are counted in the 2020 census. For more information, go to 2020census.gov.